Well, okay, we're recording this because some of you have been a little unruly, and so we're trying to make sure that we have evidence if you're naughty. No, actually, we're recording it for people that think their anniversary is more important than Greek, yeah. So you just ask Ariel, she'll tell you Greek is more important than our anniversary.
Your nose is growing.
Well, she knew there were certain things that were non-negotiables. Greek was one. In fact, for my 25th birthday, she bought me A.T. Robertson's Greek grammar in light of historical research. It's 1,400 pages.
That's a good woman.
For my 30th, she bought me an AR-15.
She's a romantic.
What changed between 25 and 30?
All right, well, we're gonna do a quick quiz here, and we're just gonna keep hammering away at this stuff. So on your piece of paper, you can write your alphabet, and then write your first and second declensions. And let's go ahead and pick a word. So for our first declension, do phone, which is on the sheet here, but don't look at the sheet while you're taking your quiz. And do your articles with them, and then logos for second declension and teknon for second declension neuter. And then also present active indicative endings.
What was the masculine one again? Sorry.
Logos. Yeah, maybe I should write that down.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I'm doing it. Wait a second.
first declension, article, and phone, second declension, do article and logos, and then article and teknon, and then your present active indicative endings. Dina, you think they can see the board?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Your sister says no.
I can.
There are a couple glares on it.
Yeah, the glares can't do much about.
No.
Yeah, I know. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. It's the lights. I can lower the lights, I'm not sure.
Smell, yeah, I can smell that.
Cause the glare in
Get a
here is
little
not
mood
bad, but
lighting
on the
in here, that'd be
screen,
nice.
yeah, right.
Especially when we get the mood.
It's not as good.
Wonder if that's better.
Well, you can look on my screen and see what they say.
Oh, I can see that. All right, couple more minutes and then we'll see how we did. Present, active, indicative. Can somebody provide the music from Jeopardy? Come on. Somebody's gotta know it.
There you go.
Dun, 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 dun. All right. Let's see here. First of all, somebody want to come up to the front and do the alphabet. Now, if you could all run up at one time, you're gonna hurt somebody. You wanna go,
I
Paul?
can do the alphabet.
Okay, Paul.
Rest of it, I don't know.
All right, Paul.
Do you want uppercase or lowercase?
Lowercase, please.
All right.
Here you go. All right.
Well, yeah, yeah, no. There. I always figured how to have lambda mu. Something like that. U upon I rho sigma. Don't do a sigma. And tau. Psi. I don't see him right. I realize that's from fraternity.
All right, thanks, Paul. Thank you. From your old fraternity days, huh?
That's right. That's a couple of years ago.
Yeah. All right, so we got alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon. Whatever that is, zeta,
That's Zeta.
from your fraternity days.
Well, yeah, but we use caps.
Okay. All right, so remember on your,
Where'd it go? You erased it.
I didn't touch it.
Oh, you didn't touch it. Well, how come it looks like that?
Zeta, eta, theta, iota. No dot. Kappa, lambda, mu, nu. C. Omicron, P, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, keep, C, omega. Nice job, Paul. All right.
I went to Greece once, so I know.
Okay, so now I need somebody to come up and do first declension article with phone.
Where's one?
All right, Alicia. Yeah, I should have brought my
was gonna
bag of
say, I gotta-
Starbursts.
So I gotta take a cheat
I
sheet with
can
me.
bring my notes with me.
All right, can they see? You think they can see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got in trouble on Sunday for not having the Starburst bag.
Oh, you got scolded?
There were a lot of kids,
I
with
s-
some sermon notes filled out, and there are no Starburst.
That's why the kids like me.
I know they. That is not to be doubted. She's giving articles too.
Yes, it's with the article. So article, then,
Oh.
yeah. And a lefty. Any other lefties in this class? Okay, we got two lefties. They're both sitting at the same table. That's weird.
Well, it's good.
It's a sign. It's a sign from the cosmos. Yeah. Ariel's left-handed. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's a right-handed world though, isn't it, Alicia?
Yes.
Backwards, huh? All right, hey, phone, te, phone, yeah, and tain, phonane, hi, phonai, tone, phonon, tis, phonice, tos, phonos. What do you guys think?
Very nice.
Very nice.
Well done.
Well done. Excellent. All right, everybody, by the way, who got their alphabet? Everybody got their alphabet down? Get the alphabet down? You should be able to just like rattle it off in your sleep now, right? Really fast. Okay, and then how many of you got first declension here? Okay, so the reason we're gonna start putting articles with our declensions is because you need to start seeing your articles with your endings. So should you know ace, I own, isos, and the answer is yep, you should know that. But you should also know what the articles are, because remember, in the nominative, you have the rough breather, but then in the genitive, dative, accusative, you got the towels in front, okay? So just trying to keep that in order. So one of the things that I will always do, and you can look at any translation sheet that I've done in the last 30 years. And every translation sheet I come across this, I'm going and I do feminine nominative plural. One, it's a habit, but two, guess what? You write that every single time for years, it sticks, right? You see this, oh, feminine accusative plural. So, all right, good job, Alicia. Who would like to try second declension, logos? Okay, whoever that is, come on up. Yes, this forest green or Kelly, no, yeah, forest green, hunter green, whatever. It's terrible. Horrible. It's like Charles Barkley imitation. Terrible, horrible. All right. All right, so we got ha, logos, and over here, rough breathers. Ha, logos, tu, lagu, to, lago, ton, lagon, hoi, lagoi, tone, lagon, tois, lagois, tus, lagoos. How'd you do? Fantastic. This is going really well. You guys, all right, who wants to do Technon? Good job, Debbie. It's a shame to erase all your hard work.
Especially when you can read it for the next step.
Neuter.
Try it.
All right, Chris,
Use the black
give us
marker.
the article and Technon. Yeah,
Don't try it, Chris, just do it.
yeah, just do it. Don't just try. There is no try.
Exactly right. And is one of the letters we just learned.
So remember, you got people trying to see that
I
on
know.
Zoom, so try to make it a little bigger.
Yeah. This is like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it.
No, it'll go on the language for- yeah. And it will be on the second letter of the diphthong.
Oh.
Did I get it right?
Better than Kyle.
Pardon the penmanship.
And you guys just did the active for the, yeah, for the present.
Oh, did you go into chapter 5?
No.
No,
But I missed last week, so I have no idea.
Oh,
what you guys
yeah,
got
that's
to.
right. You were out
I
shooting.
was shooting in hurricane strength winds.
I'm not going for extra credit.
There is no extra credit. Right, Miss Madrasso? No extra credit. You either got it or you don't.
And don't even talk to me about extra credit because you're failing the class.
Exactly.
Those are the ones
Make
that
more
usually
work
ask
for
for it.
me
most.
just so you can get an E. No, you didn't ask them that, on you, not me. Making more work for myself. If you get bored of it, I just think I'm making a point of giving extra credit to that.
Oh, wow.
Because I don't want them incorporating mistakes into their understandings.
Well, that's why you write so sloppy on the board, they can't tell what you're actually writing.
Well.
That was my trick.
Yeah.
All right,
That is my
Chris.
due.
Okay, so notice we got ta, tu, to, ton, ta, to, toys, ta. All right, Technon, on, u, o.
Oh, I forgot I got it on the article.
And the article never lies.
Very good. On, ois, ah. All right, how'd he do?
Yeah, very good.
Really good. So this part is a little different, right? The neuter. Now, of course, these match, but that doesn't, this does.
That last article on the singular is, should it be taught? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So notice, yeah, so in the neuter, the nominative and the accusative are the same in singular and plural. All right, good job. Okay, what else did I say we do?
Present active.
Present active indicative. Anybody present active indicative? This is so easy, a monkey could do it. Come on.
I'll do it. I'll be me, right?
Hey, if you want to do a me, that's worth extra credit. I'm talking about your present active indicative endings in the omega verb. But if you, did you memorize your me verb?
Maybe I
Amy?
did, yeah.
Wow.
The 6 things you're talking about.
All right, anybody want to do omega? Decline or conjugate.
Luo.
Oh, okay.
Ice.
A,
Almond.
Almond.
eta,
Lucy.
Now, you might notice that. All right, so everybody memorize that. Oase amaneta usi, oase amaneta usi, oase amaneta usi. Chris, go.
O-A-S-A, almond, eta, usi.
Okay, Craig, go. Eyes closed.
I haven't done that yet.
That's wrong. Grace, eyes closed.
Oh.
Daniel, eyes closed.
O, is A, amen, eta, usa.
Suzanne, eyes closed.
OSA almond edit.
Debbie, eyes closed.
OSA almond data usi.
Okay. Tina.
OSA almond edit.
Makes you dizzy, doesn't it?
OSA almond edit.
Seth,
O, is A, amen, eta, usa.
Alicia,
OSA almond edit usi.
Paul.
Always say, I'm a Uzi. Did I gotta say it again?
Yeah.
I think so. You're good. Colin.
OSA oma ere usi.
Okay. Trina.
OSA almond edit usi.
Core. You can't just black out your screen, boy. I know you're there.
It's his eyes closed.
Come on. Come on, Core.
I'm not there.
Core, I wish everybody could see you right here. Okay. Ethan,
OSA ora eta use.
can you say that again? I wasn't paying attention.
Sorry, OSA ora eta use. Sorry.
Yeah, I think almond etta.
And eta. Got it.
Yeah, so just almond,
Almond.
right?
Got it.
Short omicron. So OSA almond etta.
Almond eta use.
OSA almond etta.
Almond eta use.
OSA almond etta usi. OSA almond etta usi. Okay, what about this movable new? So this, I think we talked about this last week. I can't remember. So in Greek, the Greeks loved what was called euphony. What's that? We've had this word.
Sound.
Voice.
Good sound. So what happens is if you have an ending that ends, so like in this case, with a iota, and a word follows and it begins with a vowel, you'll have a movable new. So you go consonant vowel. If the word that follows begins with a consonant, then the new won't be there, and so you go vowel consonant. So that they didn't want, insofar as they could help it, two consonants coming up to each other or two vowels coming up to each other. All right, and there will be other things that they do that we'll notice that operate under the same principle of euphony.
You do the same thing with a or and, right?
Yes, we do. That is one example where we do the same thing. instead of a apple, an apple.
But is the multiple new only on third person plural?
Um,
Not just second person plural or third person.
that's
singular?
correct. Okay. Outsiting, now a little vocab, real quick.
I got an update. Jeff is skiing. Chase won't make it.
That's all he said is he won't make it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tragic.
We'll have to apply some social pressure on him.
Yes. Okay, so I did not, we did not assign the vocab from chapter 4, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
But the vocab from 3 down is completely. Yeah, game, I like that. Game. All right, so close your eyes, no, close your books. All right, I'm just gonna randomly pick and you're gonna tell me the meaning. This is vocab from chapter 3. So Alicia, Amy,
I am.
okay. Colin, Akuo,
Kuo. I hear.
yes, you do. Right, I hear, I listen, I obey. Let's see, Craig, Gnosko,
I know.
okay, let's see, Paul, Grafo,
All right.
Echo, Chris,
I don't know. Sorry.
yeah, very good, you get an F for effort. Grace, Echo, I have, I hold. Lego,
I forget again, sorry.
now, I forget is a totally different verb, all right?
I couldn't use, I don't know again.
Okay, Seth, Lego,
I speak.
okay. Lombano, Katie Ruth,
I take the seat.
Luo, Debbie,
I was.
Pistuo, yes, or destroy, yes. Pistuo, Daniel,
I believe or have faith.
Apocrinamai, Daniel,
I answer.
Suzanne, Ginamai,
Feel like I should know it, but I can't remember that one.
okay,
That's not-
Ginamai,
That's one of those middle paths.
It's not very becoming. of
There's
you
no
to know
middle.
that one.
Yeah,
I meant, sorry,
yeah.
yeah,
I
it
don't-
is a middle ending, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Ginamai, Ginamai,
Yes.
Suzanne, Ginamai,
I
okay. Ericamai, Seth, Ericamai,
giving you the clue.
I or go.
okay. Ex Ericamai,
I go away.
go out. Off Ericamai, to go away. Yeah. Take it, just put little prepositional prefixes. Prepositions give you direction. Peruamai, Paul, Peruamai.
I don't know.
You Peruamai to Greece.
I traveled.
Okay. Let's see, Grace, Allah.
It's the one I don't know.
Okay. It's easy to remember Allah. Means but.
But yeah. Everyone.
Yes, but forget those other ones. Just stick with but for now. Hot tea.
THAT.
Okay. You can do it that way, or you can just tell me the word. Hot tea is causal, that or because. Okay? All right. Tell Ariel, I go, you are like a, you're like a Greek
I'm gonna use that now.
yeah, it's like, what's that? I'm like, hot tea. Okay, all right, so you should know all the other ones. From chapters 2 and 3. Okay, so real quick, there is this inset section starting on page 47, which printed Greek New Testament should I buy? You should have one by now. If not, you should look at getting one. The Nestle Allen is your probably the most used of the critical texts. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that Crossway did a diglot with the ESV with the Nestle Allen text. And diglots are completely acceptable because you just have the English text on one page. What we don't want are interlinears. Okay, interlinears come from the pit and they smell like smoke. So remember that. If you have an interlinear, we'll have an altar call at the end and you can come up and repent. So Nestle Allen 28 is good. UBS 4th or 5th edition's fine. The Tyndale House, these are actually kind of inexpensive. Yeah, Daniel.
$50 on Amazon.
For what?
The ESV diglot for the Nestle Allen.
Okay, so go to Westminster Bookstore, I think, because they'll have Crossway products a lot cheaper. The Tyndale House is also published by Crossway, and it's nice to have, but it follows an early New Testament canon order, so it's a little different. So the SBL text is kind of cool, nice print, nice little hardback, fairly inexpensive, but the critical apparatus, basically, instead of giving you any manuscript information, Holmes, I forget his first name. He put it together, and the critical apparatus actually will tell you, like, the Westcott Hort reading is here. So what he does, instead of manuscripts, he gives you other text editions, okay, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I have one of all of these, except I don't have the Zondervan Greek New Testament reader. Daniel, would you buy that?
No, I have it. But I wish I did.
Okay, there are other reader editions that are done better. The Robinson Pierpont is your Byzantine text form, which is totally worth having. Don't waste your money on the majority text by Hodges and Farstead. That's just an all-around dumb idea. And I wouldn't actually spend my money on a Textus Receptus unless I was just interested in different texts. So I have one and I'll look at it from time to time. The font's actually pretty crummy too. So anyway, but I think I sent something out for you to get Greek New Testaments. And so we're at a stage where you should be securing one of those. All right. Okay, so we left off and we didn't cover AME. And so if you take a look on whatever that page is.
Yes.
Yeah, 42, 4.8, present indicative of AME. Now notice when we parse an AME verb or any me verb, AME in particular, we will say present active indicative. Technically, as a verb of being, it doesn't have a voice. Okay, so technically it's just a present indicative. or an imperfect indicative or whatever the case is. But if you say, and if I say, so what is that? And you say present active indicative to S from Amy, no big deal. So the Amy verb is what would be called a copulative verb, or a verb of being, or an equative verb. And it just is I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, they are. Okay, that's and so you do need to have these memorized, as Craig does already. And so everybody needs to catch up to Craig for next week. All right. So a me, a Eston, Esmond, Esta, Asen. Okay. And so, by the way, back to somebody asked about movable news, there would be a movable new in the third singular there as well. Okay, so let's say these together. Amy,
Amy,
a Eston, Esmond, Esta, Asen. Okay, so those are the a me verbs in the present indicative, and you'll have to have those done by next week. All right?
Is the new movable in the plural third also?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't worry about it though. Just memorize it with the new on the end. Okay? Because if you're reading and you see it and the new drops, it's easily identifiable. Okay. All right. Any questions on Amy verbs? Anybody have a burning question about an Amy verb?
No.
How many of you have a Greek New Testament with you? Daniel. Oh, Core has his Greek New Testament.
Oh, now he's back.
Yeah, now he's okay. Let me do this real quick then. I want to show everybody. So Dina, can we get this up on the screen? It's always good just to take a little mental break and look at something that is of great interest. I will share this in just 1 second here. Can you share that too? Can you share or do I have to do it?
No, it's on your computer. You have to-
Oh, that's right. If you'd have given me a few minutes, I would have come to that conclusion. All right, so okay. I need to make that a little bigger. So if you take a look up there, hold on a second. I'm challenged. Okay, there, that's bigger. All right, so if you look in the left panel, by the way, this is Logos software, and it is very, very useful, very functional, and you can add to your library, which is really cool. So I have the biblical languages package, but you can add all kinds of stuff. So if you notice up here, you have NRK, okay, NRK, and that is, so look at RK. What do you think that might be? Not as far as the meaning of the word, but just you can't see it, Suzanne?
I'm sorry, but that's just, that's probably me.
Yeah, it is.
I can read it from here.
Okay. If you can.
Ah, very good.
All right, so I wish I could draw on this, but for some reason I can't. So NRK, oh, maybe, no. All right, so that's gonna be. That's gonna be your feminine dative singular. You should be able to recognize that, okay? This is your preposition. Notice the smooth breather right there. So if you realize this is a preposition, and is going to take the dative. So think about it. So dative is locational. So in beginning, this is the imperfect indicative of a me, third person singular. Okay. Was. Okay. Ha logos.
The word.
The word, good. Okay, right. Masculine nominative singular. So in the beginning was the word. Okay. Kai,
And
ha logos,
the word
ain,
was
so imperfect indicative of a me. Pros ton theon. Pros is toward or with, as in face to face. Pros ton theon.
Face to face with God.
The word was with the God. Okay, now. Kai,
and
theos,
God,
ain, halagos.
the word.
So the first time I saw this in an interlinear, I was like, oh my goodness, I've just made the discovery of Christendom. God was the word. Okay, that's not what it says. All right. I was a moron and I didn't know anything. And all I was doing was using an interlinear. See what an interlinear will get you? All right. So this is a verb of being, right? A verb of being equates. It's a copulative verb. It makes an equative connection, right? You have, in a copulative sentence, you have to have a subject, and then you have to have the predicate. So in Greek, we're going to talk about a subject nominative and a predicate nominative. Notice theos is masculine, nominative, singular. Logos, masculine, nominative, singular. It's equating. But you have to know which is the subject and which is the predicate. Does anybody remember what a predicate is?
That's what comes after the subject.
Okay, it comes after the subject.
And it's, well, it's a noun
Predicate
that's
does what
linked
the-
to the subject noun by the verb of being.
The verb of being and the noun itself is the predicate. Okay. The noun, the nominative, is simply the predicate nominative. All right. So then the question is, okay, so in English, is there a difference in a verb of being sentence between the subject and the predicate?
Well, they can be completely reversed. You could say,
Sometimes.
usually if you're talking about a predicate nominative.
Okay.
You know,
Can you say God is love? Is that a copulative sentence?
Yes.
Yes. Can you say love is God? No.
no.
Okay. So they're not always interchangeable. Okay. So then the question becomes, how can I tell the subject from the predicate? And one of the ways In fact, in this case, it's actually very easy. In this case, the subject is the one with the article. So the word was God.
So all subjects will have an article.
Not always. There are copulative constructions where there is no article. You have to determine the subject some other way. But in this case, it's easy. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because, by the way, this is one of the most profound statements on the deity of Christ in the New Testament. All right. And so in the beginning was the Word, right? And the Word was with God, right? So there's distinction, but still companionship. But then, and the Word was God, right? And so what John is stating is that the Word is in essence God. Okay. Now, the reason why this ends up being a really good one to kind of learn is because in the New World Translation, it will say, and the Word was a God. Okay. Now, the reason why they do that is because they say God doesn't have an article, therefore it's indefinite. Okay. Now, I want to show you how utterly stupid that is. First of all, God's mentioned in the previous clause, and it has the article. Okay. So we're not talking about two different gods here. By the way, you get the same thing a little later down. But here's the thing that they miss is that in a subject nominative, predicate nominative statement, you have to identify which one is the subject. So the presence of the article here and the absence of the article here is simply identifying what is the subject and what is the predicate. The lack of article here has nothing to do whatsoever with the idea of a God. Okay. So I love telling Jehovah's Witnesses that. In fact, I do a mean thing. I'll have a Greek New Testament somewhere nearby, or I'll say, Ariel, fetch my New Testament. And I've done this a dozen times. I'll say, do you read Greek? And do you know what every time they say?
Yes.
They say yes. So I hand my Greek New Testament to them, and one guy, it was absolutely priceless. He looks at it and he goes, do you mean this part? And he points to the English subtitles. I said, well, no, that's English. I asked if you can read Greek. And so this is a great way. So you have a verb of being. You talk about the practical implication of understanding something as simple as a copulative verb. There it is. Okay. So
It also makes a huge mistake, and this is what we said when we first talked about articles. They are not the same as English articles.
right,
Like,
right,
you cannot say that they function the same way.
right. You have a versatility in Greek articles that goes way beyond the versatility of English articles. In fact, Greek articles compared to English articles end up being probably one of the areas where you see some of the biggest linguistic differences between Greek and English. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take 5 minutes and then we're going to do our vocab, and then we will press in and do one more verb paradigm. So 5 minutes. All right, there we go. Okay, we're live. Okay. ESV, Greek English New Testament, Nestle Allen 28th edition. You can see it right up there. This is at Westminster Bookstore, which is a great resource to buy nice reformed books. And this is a Diglot. Now, I wish I could make this bigger. By the way, you can buy a case of 10 for $420. 45.50. I think, is that what?
It's $50, and if you have Prime, it's free shipping.
Okay. I'd rather support Westminster, but Amazon is Satan's empire, but you know, what are you gonna do? Okay, so you can see that's a nice diglot, all right?
And diglot means the Greek's on one page and then the English is
English
on
is
the
on the
facing
other,
page.
yep.
And
And
you
this-
recommend a diglot? You think that's a good
I think
idea?
it's great.
Okay.
I think it's great. I have the best diglot in the whole universe, but anyway. I bought an extra one and gave it to Daniel, which means I really like him. And then, let's see here. Here is, you can see that the Novum Testamentums are pretty pricey. And then here's some UBS. Here's a UBS with a dictionary, which I think Colin was able to find. There's only one left. Okay. So here's the thing is just if you can find one used, then do it. And I'm not, don't worry if you find it like a Nestle Allen 27, don't go, oh, well, it's not a 28. Same, virtually same text. If you find a UBS fourth corrected, don't worry. Get it. Okay?
So you were recommending people buy the ESV just.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Recording.
It is recorded.
So the NSB doesn't, only certain versions have diagrams, right?
Yeah, so for the longest time, it was the only diglot that existed was an RSV UBS fourth.
I'm happy they've changed.
Okay, and then the Net Bible, like the one you have, unfortunately, that's completely out of print. And if you find one that's used in good condition, it is a ton of money. And then the ESV. I don't know if the NIV does one or not, but
Would you ever get one of these leather bound, or would you always keep a hardback?
well, I have one that's leather bound.
Do you like it?
Yes.
It's a book. He's gonna say yes.
Yes, I really like it. All right. We're gonna do vocab real quick in chapter 4. So next month, March 13th, so I'll be in Grand Rapids. So if you want me to keep an eye open for you for a New Testament or a lexicon, let me know and I will. And the Baker Book House there in Grand Rapids, that's, by the way, Grand Rapids is the mecca of Christian publishing. Everybody's in Grand Rapids, Erdman's, Baker, Kriegel, I mean, you name it, Zondervan.
Do you get to go to Heritage Books when you're there?
Oh, I'll go to Heritage Books for about 3 or 4 hours. I'll spend your entire book allowance in one trip. I just tell Suzanne, put this on Daniel's. All right. I'll go. All right. All right, I'm gonna say the word, you say it after me. Ago.
Ago.
I lead or bring.
Later, room.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Blepo.
Aleppo.
I see or look.
See your word.
Didasco,
Didasco.
I teach. Okay, so didactic, right? Okay. Agero, I raise up. One of the words that's used most frequently for the resurrection. Crino, I judge, I condemn. Meno, I remain or abide or dwell. Okay, so guess where you see this word used a lot?
John 15, 1 John.
John 15 and 1 John, yep. And then hupago. Then notice you've got a prepositional prefix on front of ago. Okay. And so ago is I lead or bring, hupago is I go away or depart. Doulos, slave. They say doula. I don't, what's a doula?
Doula is like a lady who helps you to have a baby.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with this. All right. Really? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's like a
It's more of the
midwife.
servant aspect, like somebody who's there to help you. Is
So it's not a midwife, it's a doula.
Yeah.
All right. So in Greek, doulos, there's a little hymn or a little song. Doulos, oh do remember me. Okay. Okay, yeah. For those of you that didn't even crack a smile. Thanatos,
Thanatos.
death.
Thanatos.
By the way, isn't there some like character Thanos or something?
That's in the Avengers.
Yeah.
So he's dead.
Is he deaf?
Well.
He brings that.
He brings death? Is that what he does?
He's a big purple guy,
He
Big
kills
purple guy?
half the universe.
but then they undo it, so it's okay.
Okay, well, that's good.
Spoiler alert.
All right, Thanatos, death. Now, Suke,
It's okay.
Suke.
and remember, try to get that P sound in there. Suke. Now, here's the cool thing about this word is that it could mean soul, but it could mean just life. Okay. So, psychology. Well, when upsilons are transliterated into English, they're transliterated into a Y. Okay. You actually already knew that because, so take for instance, kurios. What does it look like in English or? So that always, and that's consistent on all transliteration. So when somebody goes psych, what they're saying is soul. All right. Ora. Ora.
Hoorah.
Well, yes, it is. And so you're going to be docked a point for pointing out my inability to see a rough breather. Hora is hour, yes.
But the H is silent now.
Yes, right. I was thinking of English there. A is if. Yeah, I've kind of ruined the pattern here. That just is a little conditional particle. And you'll see it all over the place. And then eta is that little conditional particle with a tet on the end, meaning if or whether. And so guess what? If you see an eta, typically your A, your epsilon iota is going to be what's used in a conditional clause. Eta is going to be really not used in a conditional clause and typically means whether. Then kathos It's an adverb, as, just as, even as. And then hosts.
Hosts.
And notice the relationship between kathos and hosts. Both are adverbs. Kathos is simply hosts with a prepositional prefix added to it. Okay? And so it's no surprise that they both mean something quite similar, all right? And so that's our vocab for next week, all right? Any questions about the vocab? Notice you have all of your verbs, by the way, are omega verbs. Okay. Omega verbs are the easiest because they're the most consistent, all right? What gender is doulos? Masculine. What gender is thanatos? What gender is psuche? Hora. Now, by the way, notice you have an alpha ending with an eta article, okay? Now, to me, hour is a time word. I don't know if it strikes you as that way. Hour, a time word, and it's feminine. I think that was mislabeled.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because Ariel doesn't know what an hour is. Okay, she thinks it's roughly 68, 69, 74, 78 minutes.
93.
93. She is. Yeah. She's on island time all the time.
There you go. Island time.
All right, present indicative verbs. If you look over on page 54. .3 tense form and meaning. So when we say tense form, what are we talking about?
The time and action.
No. Our tense form is going to be the form of the verb that tells you what tense it is. So it's morphology, it's spelling. Okay. So when you see an omega, that's the tense form is present active indicative. All right. So in other words, we're talking about the whenever we use the word form, think of the fancy word is morphology, but just think of spelling changes. All right. So notice present tense in the indicative mood communicates both types, time of action, okay, and aspect. The author depicts the action and process without attention to the beginning or the conclusion. Aspect is a linguistic term that refers to the way an author speaks. An author or speaker chooses to present an action. Now, here's sort of an interesting thing. So this is a fairly new grammar. It came out just a few years ago. It used to be that the old grammars would talk about time, but they would also talk about, and Lily Kafton, who speaks German, loves it when I butcher the German language. She always corrects me. But this is the word that was often used. So you had tense, which of course is time, but only in the indicative, right? Outside of the indicative, time is not an issue. Because outside the indicative, nothing's happened. Remember that? Outside of the indicative, nothing has actually happened. If it's subjunctive, if it's optative, it's imperative, it's all outside of the realm of reality. So tense is time only in the indicative, all right? But then they used to talk about, and this is the German word, Aktiensart, and it means kind of action. All right. And this really was sort of the emphasis. The verb tense form reflected kind of action. Now, if you notice, we've moved from that to aspect, which focuses more on the author or the speaker's perspective. Now, in English, when we talk about verb tense, what are we almost always referring to?
Past, present, and future.
Yeah, we almost always connect it to time, past, present, future. Okay. Greek ends up being a little different. I'm sure that if you probably thought about it, you see parallels in English, but we don't usually think like this. So aspect then is so let's say present tense, okay? Present tense is not just simply it's happening. Present tense describes the way the author or speaker perceives the action. Okay, so it's called verbal aspect. All right. Daniel, why is verbal aspect important? My thoughts exactly.
I think it's important to be well thought on these things so that we don't over translate or over read
Right,
something into the author that he wasn't intending us to do.
right.
So that's why I'd say it's important to understand these nuances.
Okay, so here's the thing, is you go back to the old tense time and you think of, let's just say the aorist tense, all right? And it was considered once for all past, okay? That was the way the aorist tense was often understood, all right? At the insart, simply punctiliar. Just a point, okay? You get to aspect. What you're doing, and this is just some linguistic information, okay? What you're doing is you're saying the author or the speaker chose the aorist tense for a reason to depict something about the action which may be more than punctiliar. Okay. Even biblical writers make choices in the tense forms that they use. Okay. So could you commit a big exegetical fallacy by looking at the aorist as once for all action completed in the past?
Yes.
Absolutely. So this, by the way, is just wrong. You'll make fewer errors if you just say punctiliar, but here's the thing, is that once you have a purely objective definition, objective grammatical definition, so all the GCA teachers have to pay close attention to this part. Once you have simple objective grammatical categories, all right, you have actually removed the dynamic perspective of the writer or the speaker. Okay, and you're defying the way that grammar actually works. Why? Because grammar is fundamentally descriptive, not prescriptive. Now that's hard for us. Am I upsetting you with this, Alicia?
Yeah.
Believe me, I've upset many grammar school teachers. So when we say grammar is descriptive, what we're saying is that grammar does not come down to us in some kind of purely logical, categorical function. It comes to us actually with a large degree of subjectivity. Do you know that you use verb tenses all the time because you choose not to use another verb tense which would work perfectly well? And it has simply to do with your style. Okay. Verbal aspect recognizes that the text is a reflection of the author or speaker's perspective. All right. It's close to this, but it's not, it's close to this, but it's not purely that. All right. Now, by the way, when we say language is descriptive, not prescriptive, you say, well, we have grammar books that tell us what's right and wrong. Okay, grammar books are an invention of 19th century English and American education. In fact, even the idea of standardized spelling is a relatively recent standard. Okay. Read Civil War journals of educated soldiers. Okay. I'm talking about guys that you have very good vocabulary. There's no standardized spelling. Okay. Now, printed text actually help because it does create more of that standardization. So when we say grammar is descriptive, not prescriptive, what we're saying is that grammar is describing the linguistic phenomenon by which we communicate. If we say it's prescriptive, what we're saying is that there are these objective rules that get passed down to us that dictate absolute right and wrong. And what I want to say is that's not even the way that language works. Language, this not only has to do with Greek, it has to do with English and every other, it has to do with Swahili for all I know. Language is always in a state of entropy. Okay. Language always goes from more complex to simpler forms. Who's more complex? Charles Schultz or Shakespeare?
I don't know who Charles Schultz is.
Snoopy.
Oh. Shakespeare.
Playwright or the cartoon.
So we end up having this, and I explained in our first lesson together. Classical Greek, for instance, is a more complicated structure than Koine Greek. Okay? Things get morphed. Distinctions get lost. Okay? So when I was a kid, you got in serious trouble for using the word ain't as an improper contraction. Okay? Mark my words.
Ain't no such word as
There most certainly is.
ain't.
How do you know there's such a word as ain't?
Because you can use it.
Because you use it.
And it does what a word is meant to do.
It does what a word is meant to do. All right. And so when you stop and realize that that grammar has this, there's a sense where there's a fluidity to it, right? And there will be a time when ain't is an accepted contraction. Why? Because convention dictates grammar, not rules. Okay. And by the way, this is linguistics 101. Okay.
So it'd be very different from the way like Tolkien, who created languages that were never spoken. They followed his rules, whereas Greek was actually driven by the people who spoke it.
Yeah.
And it's not even the same through time.
Right. So
Like it morphs and it picks up habits that it likes different formations of verbs more than others. And like there's times where like they just like the perfect in certain verbs. And
yeah.
There's no great explanation other than like, oh, perhaps it was easier to say, or
and so what ends up happening is, let's say the perfect loses some of the dynamics of kind of action, but it becomes the preferred form. So it starts being used for things that are not necessarily in the perfect. How do we know that? Because other tense forms drop out. Is this making sense? By the way, this part is totally free. Okay, you don't even have to pay for this part. And this is good information. All right. So what ends up happening when you stop and you think about verb tense choice, it's not as if it's completely subjective. All right. There still is this idea that, so think about it this way. Verbs in terms of tense go from simple to more complex. Your more complex verb forms indicate a more complex perspective on the action, whereas something as simple as the aorist, or the future for that matter, is very simple and not very descriptive at all. All right. So we'll end with Daniel's point here. At least we'll end on this tirade with Daniel's point, and that is what this understanding does is it actually prevents you from over interpreting the text. People use language in basically the same way, no matter what language they speak. There are fundamental universal linguistic principles that are found in every language. Okay? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at texts that are 2,000 years old, all right? Inspired texts, right? And in fact, we would say we believe in verbal plenary inspiration, which means we believe that all of the words are inspired, but not only all the words, all the sentences, all the grammatical structures, all of it is inspired. So what we have to do is we have to apply ourselves to the very best of our ability to, on the one hand, give, you could say it like this, give due reverence to the grammar of the text, but don't over-interpret the text because of some sort of logical commitment that you have, okay? And by the way, this has been, it was called back in the 1960s and 70s among Bible scholars, a logico-grammatical approach, right? Where you just have these categories And so all of a sudden, what does biblical exegesis look like? You're just plugging words in, going, this is what it means. And that's not the way language works. Ever. I mean, unless you're, I guess, computer programming.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, this is not computer programming. So all of that to say, there is a marvelous human element when it comes to interpreting a text.
So you have to have, when you use aspect, is there some form for aspect, or is aspect only going to just be? See, this is the thing, it's like, we're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is, you gotta understand what the author is trying to say.
Yep.
And that's all aspect is?
That's what aspect comes down to. So here is in any given tense form, okay, there's only so much possibility in terms of aspect. All right, in other words, there's a range. Okay. But a tense form will not tell you aspect. It will only open up the range for you. Okay. So the example is with the present tense here. So let's finish this paragraph here, 5.3. The present tense form alone does not necessarily communicate that the action is actually in progress. Okay, you do know that, right? I'll read it again. This is in the middle of 5.3. The present tense form, so just take luo, does not necessarily communicate that the action is actually in progress.
Isn't it ongoing?
There's flex to it. Right.
So let me give you a very fast example. So I'm driving to Sacramento. I have Ariel and the boys with me, and I'm playing Bob Dylan on Pandora, and Dylan is playing the harmonica, and Calvin says, why is he screeching his violin? He should practice more. All right, that's a true story. Screeching his violin, he should practice more. Now, I just told that story that happened on Saturday in the present tense. Could I have told you it in the past tense?
It's way more boring.
It's boring. We drove to Sacramento on Saturday. I played Bob Dylan on Pandora. I brought the kids with me, right? I used the present tense for a reason in telling a story that's past. It's more interesting, and it does something to the story.
Put the picture of the film in your head
And it draws
rather
the
than just a
listener
picture.
to it.
You know, it's more of a video than it is separate photos.
It is the vividness of a historical account. Do you ever do that? The answer is all the time. So there is a present tense in the indicative that has nothing to do with action being ongoing. The action's already long past. Right?
This is why it's really important to not just have these really strict categories of, well, present means it has to be happening right now. Because then in narrative, you run into present all the time.
Yeah.
Where they're recounting something that you know as the reader is past, but they're telling it. This is why understanding the perspective of the author is so important. Because
Yeah.
otherwise we'd have to be with, well, it's present, It has to be happening right now.
Yeah.
We don't even talk that way.
Right, right. So take 5.3, look at this, the second to the last sentence. Context is the most important factor for determining authorial nuance in the choice of the present tense. So to Suzanne's point, you can tell the tense form. So let's just say present active indicative. What about aspect? That depends on context. That's it. By the way, you can't ask the author what he was thinking. I mean, you could try, but First Samuel prohibits such a thing. Contacting the dead. All right. So take a look at these three categories. There's the progressive present, expresses an action in progress. That's what we're most familiar with. All are looking for you, right? So Pontes, Zetusen, say. All are seeking you. Then you have the iterative present. Describes an action performed repeatedly or regularly or a state that's ongoing. So everyone who abides in him does not continue in sin. So you have pasha and auto, menon, uk, hamartane. So, by the way, this is a great verbal aspect verse, right? So if it's just time, everyone who abides in him is not sinning, like right now. That's probably not what John had in mind, right? Or the idea of just progressive ongoing is probably iterative, which means it's regular, or it's even customary, but it doesn't have anything to do with the idea that it's without interruption. Okay. And then here's what we were talking about just a minute ago: historical present or the narrative present, used in historical narratives to describe a past event, often with verbs of speaking or motion, possibly indicating to the reader that there's a change in location or introduction of new points or new person in the point of the narrative. So, by the way, that little paragraph ends up being really important, because what it does is it says there are reasons why the author may choose to change tenses. And it could be a change in location. It could be, in other words, there are clues in the text. And how do you pick those up? You pick those up not only by context, but you pick them up by the writer's habits. Okay. So let me give you one easy example. So anybody have a 1977 New American Standard? Okay. So I'm sure you do, right? So you go to the Gospel of Mark, and how does the Gospel of Mark read in the 1977 New American Standard? And every sentence starts with and, kai, right? And there's a gazillion kais in Mark. You read the 95 NAS, or by the way, any other English translation, and they stopped doing that because they realized that John Mark, there you go, was using kai as a discourse marker, similar to how we would use a period or a comma. And so kai may introduce a new narrative. Kai may serve as a comma. So all of a sudden, you stop translating kai woodenly as and. You know, I mean, there you are. I mean, you know, here I am. I'm a new Christian, and I'm a freshman in high school. And what have I been taught at Holy Family Catholic School for years? Never start a sentence with an and. And I'm reading Mark, and I'm like, this guy should have gone to Catholic school. All right, voice, right? This is review. Active, subject performs the action. Middle, subject performs the action, is also affected by the action. Not purely reflexive. It can be reflexive, but it's not purely reflexive, right? So to dress or to bathe are both in the middle in Greek. Those are actually purely reflexive middles. I dress myself, I bathe myself, right? Not all middles, in fact, not even most middles, are reflexive in that sense. They do it and they are affected by it or involved with it. So why is peruamai in the middle? I go, I proceed, because I'm involved in the action itself as well. I'm a participant. I'm affected by it. If I proceed, I'm affected by the proceeding, right? And then passive, subject receives the action, all right? So he reviews mood, but we're so good on mood. How many moods are there? 4. The indicative is the mood of, what's that? Fact, reality, right? So now we're not saying that every indicative is a statement of fact. Okay. But it is, yes, perceived or hypothetical fact, right? So you could be saying something for the sake of argument that's not true, you know. And so then you've got your subjunctive, unfulfilled, optative,
That's like.
wishful thinking.
Yeah, that was a wishful one. What did I write?
And then imperative. Yeah, right. So, and again, there are little nuances, right? So imperative, command, but sometimes in prayer, the imperative is used. Would you be so audacious to say you're commanding God? No, because the imperative can be command or request. All right. So that brings us to a new paradigm. One which you will love. This is going to be the present, middle / passive indicative. Why middle / passive?
Not a difference in form between the middle and the passive.
What's that?
There's not a difference in form.
Right. There's no difference in form between the middle and the passive. In other words, you see this form, it can be middle or passive.
How would we know the difference?
It doesn't matter.
It always matters.
There are certain middle forms that fit certain verbs or certain verbs that fit certain middle forms. Like reciprocity, movement, self-involvement, passivity. So if it's a verb of one of those, then
She just rattled those off, by the way. That was pretty impressive. Yeah. So your middle, so here's the thing is you have middle only verbs, all right? And you have to decide, is that a middle, right? In the categories that Katie Ruth just gave, or is this a passive verb? All right. Now, will you always be able to tell if it's middle or passive? There will be times where you may not be able to distinguish, and both will make sense. Okay. But since they both have the same tense form in the present indicative, both are possibilities. All right. So probably there are going to be certain things that give it away. If, for instance, if it's a passive verb, if the form is used as a passive, there may be agency that's expressed. Okay. By agency, so if the subject's receiving the action of the verb, oftentimes an agent will be expressed as the one who does the action. Jesus was baptized by John. Okay. And if you didn't have by John and just had Jesus was baptized, you'd go, oh, either Jesus was baptized or Jesus baptized himself. Okay. By John gives you the clear contextual clue that you need. All right. Most of the time, context, and then Katie Ruth's observation that you have some words. You're going to have some words that are simply they're going to be strictly middle only verbs. All right, that are not used passively, and so those are no-brainers. That's just usage. All right. So we have present, middle, passive, indicative, and here are, and just notice the beautiful similarities. Amai, atai, amata, esta, antai. Amai, atai, amata, esta, antai. Amai, atai, amata, esta, antai. Now you go, well, that's not anywhere close. And the answer is yes, it is. You just don't see it. It is super close, but you can't see it. So notice the second person singular is an eta with a iota subscript. You see that? And, okay, we're on page 56. We're in the second box. Okay. Second person singular in the present active is ace. You have a iota there, right? Now, unfortunately, the sigma drops in the present middle passive, but so you have amai instead of o. And then you have a with the iota subscript, that's 2s. Amai a tie. Okay. You can make up some fun songs with this. Amai a tie, right? All right, whatever you prefer. Okay, and then amatha, that's close to amen, but here's the thing: is your middle passive likes your theta. Okay, and so why does it like the theta? Well, because the passive verb form is always going to use the theta. Okay, so the middle passive likes the use of the theta. So you have amatha esta antai. All right. So we have two verb paradigms now, not counting a me, right now in the indicative. We have the present active indicative and the present middle passive indicative. All right. So you have o, ace, a, amen, eta, usi, and then you have amai, a, atai, amata, esta, antai. All right. This is a thing of beauty. All right. So let's chant together. Amai, a, atai, amata, esta, antai. 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 All right. And so you get that on a card. So you should have three verbs now. You should have your luo, luomai, and your ami. All right. Now, you might remember early on, maybe the first or second class, I said that Greek is cumulative. And so you see what's happening. Think of the nouns. We've built now first and second declension nouns with the articles. Okay. Has that been cumulative? Very much. Now we're working on verbs. We only have 3 verb forms down. But guess what? by next week, you'll have 3 whole verb forms down. Now, the cool thing is that once we get in just a little farther, okay, all of our verbs are going to start building on each other. All right. So it's not like you're memorizing everything all over again. All right. We're going to find that there are small little spelling changes that end up changing the tense. So here is something just to encourage you. We've learned the present active indicative. We'll learn the future active indicative, and the future active indicative will go like this. So, say, Salmon said a Susie. You just put a sigma in there, and guess what your sigma is doing for you? It's your future tense indicator. So you're building. So you go from OSA, Amen Eda Usi, to So say, Salmon said a Susie, and you just now added a whole nother verb conjugation. All right. So what if you wanted to do a future middle passive indicative? Well, you would just go Samai se satai, samta sesta santai. I don't know about you, but my heart is strangely warmed. So, what's that?
And Craig's a doctor, that might help.
Yeah, it could be heartburn or my love of Greek. I don't know. And so we're going to sing Just As I Am. If you have an interlinear, make your way to the front.
Emphasis was on the strange.
Okay, so are you like excited? Yeah. And by the way, the reason we don't just plow through paradigm after paradigm and conjugation after conjugation, and we take these little rabbit trails about grammar and stuff, is because if all we did was just that level of just cram it down your throat, you'd leave and you wouldn't even want to try amai eatai amata esta antai. All right. So how many of you are finding that just a little bit every day is actually pretty good? How about a little bit more than a little bit?
A lot more.
Okay, a lot more than a little bit, all right? But here's the thing that people don't take into consideration. It is completely doable by the vast majority of human beings. You've got to put the time in. I mean, I think Greek is way easier than playing the guitar. I've been trying to learn to play the guitar for 5 years now. I have the opening lick to Bad Moon Rising, and that's about it. This is way easier. All right, aren't you encouraged? All right, well, let's pray. Lord, thank you for this time, and thank you for everyone who's involved in learning. I pray that you'd help all of us. Pray that you'd help those, Lord, that are struggling, and the memory work seems a little daunting. We pray that you would, Lord, give them fresh and creative ways to memorize things. And we pray that we'd keep the goal in mind, and that is to be able to look at your word as it was originally given to us. And so we pray that you would encourage us with that tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.